and we want to thank you for coming. My name is Jeff Bean, and I will be assisted by DeJuan Robinson, who is around here somewhere. He was corralling people a minute ago, so he may be trying to grab somebody out of the basement or something. So what we're going to do tonight, for those of you who aren't familiar with our process or what's going on, Tendaji Ganses was a professor at University of Michigan Flint who had a tremendous compassion for community and for speaking the truth in love and understanding what people needed to become more. He has touched more lives than I can ever imagine. And so out of that sense of self, when he passed, Donna Ulrich from the U of M campus began these talks. And we've had a series of talks over a year now on a wide range of topics. But we thought this month, this particular date being the beginning of Black History Month, and just all the things that are going on in our country right now, that it would be a good chance for us to tell stories, because Tendaji used stories to exemplify his wisdom. It was a great way to share things with us, and for those of you who've had an experience of the man, you know what I'm talking. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to have a number of different people come up and either share a poem or a story about an experience in Flint, about an experience of being here, of being maybe in Tendaji's light in some way, but just some way for us to experience the diversity of this incredible community that we live in. And so I'm honored to be able to present some of these folks tonight. DeJuan and I will be doing that. And then once we get done, and I want to encourage the speakers, if you're coming up tonight, we'd ask you to stay within a 3 to 4 minute range, because what we want to do when we get done is we're going to ask everybody to kind of circle up and talk about the stories that we've heard tonight. Maybe some folks who aren't on the list have something they, because of what you heard, you want to share something, or something just moved you, or one of the speakers has something else to add. But we want to have a conversation around those stories. And the library is real specific that we have to be out of here by 8 o'clock. And so I'm going to encourage our speakers to be time responsible so that we have that time to do that conversation at the end. And Tracy will be leading that conversation at the end. This is Mr. Powers. Thank you very much. Okay, so now I got everybody here. So it is my pleasure to bring up our first presenter tonight, Ms. Crystal Flynn, who was the former program manager for Diversity Education Services in the Office of Educational Opportunity Initiatives at U of M Flint. She met Tendaji in 1997, has a wonderful sense of who he is, and she's going to share that with us tonight. So if she'll come up, we'll get started. And speakers, if you want to use the microphone, feel free. If you don't, you can do whatever you want.
All right, thank you, Mr. B. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
You can? Okay. Since it's like I've got a dozen stories about Tendaji. I worked for Tendaji for nearly 15 years. And since it's Black History Month, I thought I'd tell a story about Black history in Tendaji in the context of the work that we did. So some of you may have remembered that U of M Flint, we would kick off Black History Month with a large festival where we had entertainment and vendors, and we always had a soul food cafe and music. It was always a really nice affair. This particular year, I decided to go with a new caterer. And Tendaji hadn't met this caterer yet. He typically didn't get involved in the minutia of planning these events, but he was always there. And so this particular year, the new caterer approached me on this Saturday afternoon, and he was just in a tizzy. He was just frustrated. He was in a tizzy. And he said, "Crystal, who is that little man in the dashiki with all the rings on?" And I said, oh, you must have met Tendaji. Well, Tendaji had approached the caterer because there was no coffee. Well, I hadn't ordered any coffee because we always order coffee and nobody drinks. And so I told the caterer, I said, well, don't worry about it. Let me go find him, find out what's going on. So I located Tendaji. I said, Tendaji, what did you say to the caterer? He's all upset. You know, he said, I just told him we need to get some coffee down here. I need some coffee. And so people who don't know Tendaji, he's really gruff on the outside with a big teddy bear on the inside. And I was like, Tendaji, you don't even drink coffee. Why is it so important that we have coffee? Crystal, just get the caterer and have him get some coffee down here right now. So, in the midst of all the crowds coming in and all the work that we had to do to get this festival off the ground, some coffee miraculously appeared. I don't know what the caterer did. I hadn't even spoken to him yet about getting some coffee. But some coffee showed up. And it turns out that the reason why Tendaji was so adamant about getting some coffee there, not just because we just wanted to have coffee for everybody who was at the festival, it was that one of the musicians, they had lost another musician from the local musical scene in Flint the night before. And so the musicians that we had brought in, they were really upset. They'd been up all night dealing with this situation over the passing of their colleague. And one of them, who's since passed too, Sabrina Lamar, she just really needed a cup of coffee. And so Tendaji made that happen. We got some coffee, everything was good. And the caterer, his name was Carl. I think he's since left Flint too. He said, this man is really something else. I think Tendaji went back to him and kind of apologized for how he approached him. And from that day on, they really formed a really good bond for these two men. So that is my Tendaji story. Thank you.
We all know Tendaji had a way of making people do things against their will, right? But my fondest memory of him, honestly, it was during the time I was running for school board. I think he just reached out to me. I don't even know how he got my number. But he had called. And I remember just answering the phone, just kind of talking like, okay, I never knew who he was before. So he kind of went through the spiel who I am, and telling me, young brothers rising. I remember him just so vividly saying that. It's your world. It's your world for the taking. So you stand up. You do what's necessary for your people. And it always stuck with you. We never got the chance to meet him. So that's something that it was an honor for him to call me out and just tell me those words. So that was my fondest memory of him. You got to excuse me. I'm a little hot. It might be the sweater.
It's all right. It's all right.
We got the heat on 100 up in here, but we're going to keep this thing moving. My name is DeJuan Robinson. I'm a young brother in the city of Flint. What can I say? I'm an offspring of Tendaji. So with that being said, we're going to call up our next poet, which is a wonderful mother of 3 boys. She's an educator, storyteller, community activist, and a Flint resident. Let's welcome my friend, Shani Womack.
Can you hear me? Yes. All right. All right, my name is Shani Womack, and I was born and raised in Flint, Michigan. But my mother is an immigrant from Jamaica. And so I guess I bring a little bit different cultural spin on growing up here in Flint. because not only is my mother an immigrant from Jamaica, but my grandmother, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins. So we had lots of Jamaicans in our home growing up, and I grew up listening to them speak Patois, which is a Jamaican language dialect that has some English in it. It has some African, some French, lots of different words. It reflects the culture of Jamaica, all the different people who have lived on the island of Jamaica. They kind of put together like a gumbo to make this language. And so I'm going to tell you a story today. It's called Anansi and Common Sense. Anansi stories, as I'm sure you may already know, are African stories from West Africa. These stories were taken from Africa to the Caribbean and even to America by those Africans who were kidnapped and enslaved and carried through that triangle trade route. And so the Anansi stories can be found in Jamaica. In the United States, they're called Brer Rabbit, which is like a cousin of Anansi. And Anansi is a small little spider, but he has a way of outwitting those who are stronger and more powerful than he is. So this is Anansi and Common Sense. One day, Anansi the spider, he sat down and he began to hatch a plan. He began to think up in his big brain about how he could become rich and famous. Now Anansi, he was a big time collector. He loved to collect all manner of things. He would collect sticks, he would collect mangoes, he would collect oranges, he would collect pineapple, coconut, and his favorite thing was to collect was Sunday dinner. He would walk around to all his neighbors' house and collect him some Sunday dinner. Oh yes, he would. So Anansi said, how can this hobby of mine make me rich and famous? He thought and he thought. He said, I know. I would collect up all the common sense in the world. And once I have all the knowledge, all the wisdom, all the good advice, all the common sense, people from everywhere, all around the world would have to come to me if they want to know how to make a good decision. So he was satisfied. He thought this was a magnificent plan. So he set out. He began to walk around. And he walked to the government buildings. He walked to the universities. He went to elementary schools and high schools. He went to big cities and small towns. He went up into the mountains. He went to the valleys. He went everywhere, all around the world, collecting up all the common sense and all the knowledge that he could find. So as he collected this information, he said, I need something to put it in. So he began with a small little paper bag, and he put in all of the information, the common sense, the knowledge, the wisdom that people would share with him. He began to put it all into his bag. After a while, the bag got so heavy that the straps, they began to break off. So he said, no, this is no good, this is no good. All right, what am I going to do? He found a plastic bag, and he began to stuff all the wisdom down into the plastic bag, but before too long, the bottom of the bag break and give way. This is no good, What I gonna do? Anansi looked around, he looked up, down, he looked everywhere. He found one big, giant, everlasting calabash. A calabash is a gourd, and this is a sturdy gourd. He stuffed all the knowledge and all the wisdom and all the good advice and all the common sense into the calabash, and he began to head home. On his way home, he began to think, where can I hide this information? He thought, I have to find a good hiding place because I don't want anybody to get the common sense without my permission. So when he got home, he walked into his backyard. He looked around. He said, maybe I can dig a hole and bury the calabash in the ground. But he said, oh, no, that's not good. All right, I can hide it under the bushes in my backyard. No. He looked up. He saw one tall tree in his backyard. And he said, I got it. I will tie a rope around the neck of the calabash. And then I will tie tie the calabash around my neck, and I will take the rope and I will wrap it around myself and the calabash, and I will tie the calabash to my belly, and I will climb up to the top of the tree, hang the calabash high, high in the tree where no one can reach it, unless they come to me first, and then I will make them pay dearly for the wisdom and the advice that they seek. So he did this. He tried to climb. But now he has a big calabash strapped to his belly. And if you know Anansi, he's a big spider. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 arms and legs. But the calabash is between him and the tree, and he could not get the good grip. So he climbed up a little bit and he would slide. He climbed up a little bit more and he could not make good progress. And he began to sweat. Oh, this is such hard work. And as he continued to struggle and try to climb the tree, he heard a little voice. Brother Nancy, why you don't strap the calabash to your back? That's where your arms and legs are free to climb the tree. And Nancy, he was stunned, he was shocked. He looked down, him see a little gal picnic, maybe 3, 4 years old. After him did walk all around the world and collect up all the wisdom, all the information, all the knowledge, and this little child come and share with him this piece of wisdom? What? And Nancy so vexed and vexed and vexed until he fling down the calabash and it burst into 1,000,000 pieces. And all the wisdom and common sense was scattered all throughout the place. The wind picked it up and carried it all over the world. Common sense was carried to every continent, every country, every culture, every people, every boy, every girl, every man, every woman. Each one received a little bit of common sense. And that is why we must remember that we have to take time to listen to one another. Because everybody, whether rich or poor or young or old, we all have some common sense. We all have some wisdom. We all have some good advice that we can share to help make the world a better place for all of us. And Nancy made it. Jack Mandor, we not choose.
You can travel the world, or you can have the world come to you. You know what I'm saying? I love being in Flint. So the next person we're going to introduce is going to tell us a story as well about being in Flint. Christian Howard is an arts major from U of M Flint, has this wonderful voice. Get comfortable with that. My guess is you're going to hear it frequently. Christian, come on.
You know, I don't think I'll need a microphone, but I guess now I'm wondering how I'm going to top that story. I guess I'll just have to do my very best. But yeah, I go to University of Michigan Flint. I study fine arts, studio art with drawing and painting, and I actually live in Grand Blanc. So this is actually my first time at this library. So the story is a little bit about me, a little exaggerated here and there, but this is the story about a little fox who eventually found his way. So this fox was born in a pack of fantastic hunters. His father in particular was the most successful hunter of the pack. But the fox himself wasn't very talented. No matter how much he tried to follow in his father's footsteps, he was never passionate or talented about hunting. So because of this, he went through most of his childhood in the shadows of the pack with almost no friends to have his back. But one day, he found his passion, digging. This fox could dig holes unlike any other animal in the forest. He started off small, digging little holes to hide food, little burrows for animals to hide from like predators and prey. And this gave him a lot of praise from various animals across the forest, except his family. His father in particular did not approve of what he was doing. One night his father looked him straight in the eye and told him, "Son, you can't do this. You're a hunter and you'll never amount to anything digging these stupid little holes." But as he told his father, fine. I'll show you, I'll show the family, and I'll show everyone in the forest what I can do. So on that same night, he ran away to pursue his passion. Now, on his journey, he made some accomplishments here and there. His digging got better and better, got some attention, and he made some friends along the way. He also ran into some other foxes, females, that he admired, enough that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with any of them so that he could have everlasting support and inspiration for his work. Now, the first female he approached turned him down. She didn't like the color of his fur. He was a red fox, she was a silver fox, and she would not settle for a mate that was a different fur color than her own. The next fox lied to him. She wanted to be a lone wolf, to be independent, pursue her hearts and desires independently, kind of like how he did. But it turns out she was found with a mate soon after. The last fox that he approached, he got to too late. They liked each other, but it turns out that she already had a mate by the time he approached her and told her how he felt. So at this rate, the fox was ready to give up and go home. Despite all of his accomplishments on his journey, he was consumed by his failures. He thought maybe if he went home, did what his family wanted him to do, did what society wanted him to do, he would be better off, even if it didn't make him happy. But happy, that's the key word here, because he was not ready to give up on what he wanted most, happiness. So he kept digging. He got faster at it, better at it. He found new uses for it. Deep tunnels to hide animals like bunnies, rabbits, deer, even bears and deer. And then he also found a way to make traps with the holes for predators and prey, which is perfect for hunting. Turns out he was talented at hunting after all. He just had to find his own way of doing it. So this fox lived the rest of his life as one of the most successful and popular animals in the forest. But the big question now is, was he happy at the end of it all? And I guess when I'm on my deathbed, I'll ask myself that question. So for a brief message to end this story up is, don't give up on what you love and what you work for, because for me, that's all I live for.
That was great, man. Let's welcome Christian to the Flint family. First time ever. That's right. We're going to see a lot more of you, Christian.